Hello students. Students, welcome to this very first class of the CFRL direct tracks for all the students appearing in May 26, September 26, and Jan 27 attempt. The first and foremost, students, this has now been very unusual that the ICAI has changed the format of the examination, where earlier we used to have 2 attempts in a particular year, in a particular calendar year. Now we have 3 attempts in a particular calendar year. So in this context, students, one thing you should be very clear about it. In fact, I understand that many of the students who would be viewing this lecture in a recorded mode, they should be aware of this important aspect, which is this lecture, students, that we are recording. The lecture that we are recording, this lecture would be as per the Finance Act 2025, and the same would be applicable. The lecture would be applicable for all the candidates appearing for the May 26 examination, September 26 examination, and January 27 examination. That would be. And if there are any CMA students who are there, for the CMA students, I suppose that they already have 2 attempts in a particular year. So they will continue with this June 26 and December 26, which are the 2 attempts for which this lecture that we are doing will be made applicable for them. So therefore, students, this is first and foremost just to make it very clear about the applicability of this set of lecture that we are having, the regular batch that we are having, applicable for which particular attempt. So therefore, I just make it very clear at the very start of it. Now, the next particular part, students, comes in this regard is that about the lecture itself. So this is a regular batch, students. The regular batch, and approximately around 210 to 230 hours is the duration of any regular batch that happens in this context. It all depends upon primarily the kind of the amendments which are there. Some of the amendments which may not be that lengthy. So the time that the amendments take for the purpose of the explanation, that much is the flexibility. But out and out, somewhere around 210 hours to 220 or 230 hours. So that would be the lecture, the number of hours for this particular lecture. Students, one important particular point which I just need to let you all know is that you will be provided with 3 comprehensive color modules. 3 comprehensive color modules, students, would be provided. They are all updated as per the Finance Act 2025. So obviously those who have just taken up the admission, they started off very early. The module would be dispatched in pieces. And more importantly, students, you will have the coverage. You will have the coverage, students, of all the question bank which are there in your study material, in your RTPs, the past attempt RTPs, and the past attempt MTPs are also being covered in this particular question set, along with some of the question which I have drafted so that it becomes more comprehensive, as comprehensive as possible. Because what happens is that sometimes to make a concept more understandable to the students, it requires a good amount of base of practical questions. So instead of putting it in terms of theory or explaining more in terms of theory, what I have done, I have used a lot of case studies and practical question to explain some tricky provisions which are there in the income tax law. This is definitely going to facilitate your understanding to the very highest level. One thing is for sure, students, that the level of knowledge that you will have as far as the subject is concerned, the amount of grip and the command on the subject would be very formidable, so as to attempt the toughest question of the ICAI. So we will assume two things in our batch. Two assumptions, students, I'm going to make in this batch. The first assumption is that your knowledge of your inter-CA knowledge as far as the income tax is concerned is zero. It is as good as zero. Family. Why is it so? Because you also are aware how you would have dealt with the income tax subject in your inter-CA as well. Because there was a GST and the income tax both together, and I have known from the past attempt students that they always prefer to do GST properly because it becomes more easier for them to clear their income tax and GST paper in their inter-CA level, and that too with a very good marks. So the level of their income tax knowledge is very, very shallow. So I will also make the first assumption that your knowledge as far as the income tax is concerned is more or less zero, students. That's my first assumption. Second assumption, students, that we are going to have, so far as the batch is concerned, is that your attempt DT paper would be the toughest of the entire lot. So out of the 5 papers or the 6 papers that you're going to attempt in both the groups, DT would be the toughest paper is our assumption. So on that thought process, the lecture would be delivered. On that thought process and the assumption, the materials are being prepared so as to equip all of you the highest challenge that you're going to face so far as the subject is concerned. It also goes without saying that it is not only about your examination, students, but even post qualification, you will definitely have a lot of love towards the subject. And as I told you, many of you would do a very meaningful practice in the subject of direct tax when you start as a professional journey, when you start in your professional journey. So students, with this particular part, let's then begin with the introductory class in this case. As I told you, students, it would be very raw basic, which I'm doing it. One important point, students, is that we have made a particular transformation to the new system, and that is upgradation to the new system, students, that we are doing it. So in that context, initially, I just need family, you will just see in the app all the students who are enrolled, just please do make a confirmation either to me through the WhatsApp or through the backend team about the viewability, the audibility of all our lectures. Because as I told you, it's a new system app that we have changed the platform, and that's the reason why I just require this couple of confirmation from all of you. Right now, as we are speaking, I can also say that primarily it is all good, but still a confirmation from all your side would be really helpful. One more particular point, students. Any particular students, in the description box of the video, you will find all the contact detail, the website detail, the website detail, etc. would be provided to you. So those would be given, students, in the due course. So students, let's now get started with this particular part in this regard. So our particular proposition, students, is about the subject the Income Tax Act 1961. Now students, we also have a black money law There are two laws which you are going to study in this context. One would be the Income Tax Act 1961. Another is the Black Money Law, a different set of act, which is also very important legislation. And as far as the marks are concerned, it comes for around 6 to 8 marks, but really an important legislation, the Black Money Law. And this is where you'll find your 90 to 95% of your marks from the Income Tax Act. So there are two acts or the two legislation that you have to learn as far as a direct tax paper is concerned. One happens to be the Income Tax Act 1961 and another is that Black Money. The two set of different legislation. Marks allocation, this is somewhere around 90 to 95. That is around 5 to 10 marks. So that is how the allocations are being made so far as the legislation is concerned. Now let me run through initial very basic thing. Very, very basic. Obviously students, you will not find any questions on that, but at least it will help you to have from this basic, I can take you to a very, very advanced level of dialogue or discussion. Very advanced level. Let me get through it. Friends, the first section of any law, whether you're doing income tax law or the GST law or maybe some company law, what is the first section, by the way, in this context? Section number 1. In this context. So the first section, think of it. Exactly. So in this regard, friends, generally if you see, they talk about the title, the scope, and the extent, you may say that way. So the title, in fact, when we refer the law as the Income Tax Act 1961, when we refer the act as the Income Tax Act 1961, that title itself, students, be careful. That title, the law itself tell you that this law has to be named as the naming of the law as the Income Tax Act 1961. That naming also is as per a section. Naming, students, I am talking about it. Also as per the section, students. That is point number 1. That is the reason why I told you about this title. The second part, students, is about the scope and the extent. As you may be aware, in this regard, the extent, students, herein, it extends to whole of India, including J&K and all. That is also referred in this case. Why? Because sometimes I'm not aware whether, I don't know whether you people are aware or not. Earlier, students, there was a service tax law. Earlier, there was a service tax law, and you will be surprised to know the fact that the service tax law or the legislation was not made applicable. Students, be careful. The service tax law or the legislation was not been made applicable to the state of J&K. In context. So J&K primarily as a state has been given a special power that whatever is the taxation law which is passed by the Parliament in Delhi, those taxation law will go to the Parliament of J&K, and only when the Parliament of J&K approves for that taxation law in their legislature, then and only then the tax, that particular tax can be imposed in J&K. This is very unique, but unfortunately that is what the Constitution of India says. So service tax law, if you see, which is no longer applicable now, once upon a time when the service tax law was being passed, the state of J&K has not given any approval for its implementation in that state, and therefore it could not be implemented at all. That is what was his position. GST, different story. By the time the GST came in, the applicability was being made. The Parliament of J&K approved the GST in that particular state, and that's the reason why we find the GST being applicable even to the state of J&K. That is a very limited discussion. But one very important particular point, students. India students, when you talk about it, be careful, because in GST also this kind of a discussion comes. And might be also in customs. India students, as we know, it is not only the land mass. This is your land mass, the land area. But it also extends to students that the territorial TWI, the territorial waters of India. So from the baseline, so this border region, that border that you see is nothing but known as the baseline, the coastal line. From the coastal line, if you go to 12 nautical miles, from the coastal mile, you go to 12 nautical miles, 12, you will come to the territorial waters of India. That is nothing but the TWI, which is nothing but the territorial water of India, students. So therefore, India is not only up to the land mass, but also extends to a TWI. So even this is naturally a part of India. Okay, that is first and the foremost thing that you should always keep that in mind. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Now, from the baseline, students, extend to 200 nautical miles. From the baseline, extended to 200 nautical miles. This entire area is known as the EZ. What are the full forms of the EZ in this context? So the full form of the EZ is nothing but the exclusive economic zone. So therefore, from the baseline to up to, you'll say, sir, what is nautical miles? In terms of land is measured through kilometers. You all are aware of it. Sea area, which is there. The sea area, students, which is there, is measured not through kilometers, but through nautical miles. And as you may be aware of the fact, or whether you are aware of it or not, one nautical miles is roughly around 1.8 kilometers. That is the measurement. 1 nautical miles is roughly around 1.8 kilometers, students. That exactly is the point. So students, over here, if you see, from the baseline up to 200 nautical miles is what is referred as EZ. Now, whether this is India, and the answer is no. This context, you cannot say this is India primarily, but this is an exclusive economic zone. See, what happens is that India is blessed with the coastal area, and we have got a free run of sea from the Arabian Sea, which is on the west coast, and the Indian Ocean on the east coast. And because of that particular reason, we have a huge sea particular area which touches our boundary. And that's the reason why we are blessed to have a particular area of the sea which can be referred as an exclusive zone where we can pursue our economic activity. Although they may not be referred as in India, because India officially is recognized up to 12 nautical miles. From the baseline up to 12 nautical miles, the world recognizes that much portion of the water is known as India. But beyond that, officially it is not recognized as India. However, India has the exclusive right to exploit that water for its economic activity. And that's the reason why you find the oil rigs and all, oil rig fishing activity, which are being carried to the high sea. These are the high sea area. And therefore, here you may find the oil rigs of Reliance, ONGC, and they are doing the exploration activity. This is just an example. Now the question is, the Income Tax Act 1961. Income Tax Act 1961 extends to whole of India. Question therefore is, up to 12 nautical miles, we don't have any issue. Up to 12 nautical miles, students, we don't have any issue. Is that a part of India? Answer is yes. How about going beyond 12 nautical miles, students? Going beyond 12 nautical miles and touching to this EZ area. Touching to this EZ area, whether this would be referred, whether students, this would be referred as what? Whether students, this will it be referred as a part of India? So students, the notification has been issued by the government. Be careful what I'm saying right now. Notification has been issued by the government which says that so far as the Income Tax Act is concerned, India will include till EZ. So the term India will extend till EZ. India will extend till EZ is what the notification says. But is it for all the law or only for the income tax law? Only for income tax law. Which means that for each law, you have to see whether India is only restricted to the TWI or it is going beyond TWI and extend till EZ. For each law, students, you have to make this separately. You have to check. So far as income tax law is concerned, I can tell you that as far as income tax law is concerned, India is not only the landmass, India is not only up to TWI, India extends to EZ. Extends to EZ. If this is clear to all of you students, let me then, in fact, bring it down with one particular students, an case study. All of you just pay attention to this case study now. Suppose English students, let's take an example. This is a Singapore-based company. Now this oil rig, which is in the EZ, this oil rig, students, has developed some technical snag. Technical snag means some problem. Right now, unfortunately, we are finding in this news the Air India aircraft and these kind of a thing, because this technical snag. Unfortunate thing has happened in this context, isn't it? That is referred as a technical snag, some technical problem. So technical snag. So what happened is that oil rig was subject to some technical snag. So there were some technical consultant students from Singapore. Technical consultants from Singapore. These people they reached to this oil rig area. They did the repair, and once the repair was done, Reliance, so this is say RIL oil rig, Reliance Industries Limited, so RIL oil rig. So this technical consultant came to the oil rig. They did the repair, and once the repair is done, what happened, students? RIL paid the payment. RIL paid professional fees. Professional fees to this technical consultant. Okay. Now, obviously, students, you know that the Singapore company which is there, the Singapore company, students, we can say this is a non-resident. Fine. Now they have earned an income from RIL. They have earned an income from RIL students. Now this income from RIL has been earned by them out of the repair work in the oil rig, out of the repair work students in the oil rig which is situated in EZ. That oil rig is situated in EZ. So therefore the question to all of you is whether the professional fees received by the technical consultant based out of Singapore, whether the professional fees received by the technical consultant, can that be said to be an income? Can that be said to be an income earned by them in India or not? Can we say that these technical consultants have earned an income in India? Can we say that? That is yes. That exactly is the point. Can you see the relevance of this term India? That India extends till EZ. So we can say that for the purpose of Income Tax Act, for the purpose, please write like this, students. Take the case study. Achha, by the way, before, one very important point. Students, as I told you, so as I told you, students, that this particular technical consultant who are there, as I told you, students, one thing, 3 books would be provided by us, color books. You need to maintain notebook, students, a good 200, this thing, 200 page, students. So 200 page or 400 page, as you may, please have a good 200 page book. And students, in this context, herein, you will have to have 2 to 3 color pen. Can you see this color pen which I'm using it? Because many of the amendments, see what happens is that, because this is the first particular class, many of this particular, this thing, I want the students to remember it. Students, provision should be remembered. You'll say, sir, how is it possible to by-heart the provision? Not by-hearting. You need to write the keywords of the provision. The keywords of the provision is the game. You don't have to by-heart the provision. So only important point is that the keyword of that section needs to be known. So we will highlight it through a different color pen. And once you write those keywords of that section, that will get registered. Don't worry, I've been doing it for the last 22 years. And my students have scored 94 marks primarily in this direct tax paper. So you can just imagine the kind of scoring that they have done it. So my only particular point, students, a request to all of you is that you please ensure to make this particular aspect very, very carefully. This is my humble request to all of you. Because, and one highlighter if possible, highlighter you will require for the textbook, some of the markings that you might have to do it. One more important point, students, you do is that in your notebook, students, in your notebook, please do the serial number. Do the serial numbering of your notebook, students. That is one of the most important particular part. In your notebook, students, please ensure to do this particular serial numbering of it. Very important part, students. And why is it so? As I told you, the reason is very clear that you need to do this for one, and the most important reason is this, that students, that many times in your textbook you will have to give a cross reference of the page number of your notebook. In your notebook you have to give a cross referencing of the page number of your textbook. In any case, in textbook you will have the page numbering, but in the notebook please ensure to have the page numbering of your notebooks. Please ensure to have the page numbering of your notebook. That is one of the mandatory things, students, that you will have to do it. Is that point clear to all of you, students? So just a humble request to all of you to ensure to get into this particular aspect. I hope that all of you are clear with this. So students, in this regard, please write over here, for the purpose of the Income Tax Act 1961, comma, India includes EZ. So this is the provision, students. First point is this. Second, therefore, the professional fees. Therefore, the professional fees earned by the technical consultant Therefore, the professional fees earned by the technical consultant in the bracket non-resident is an income earned in India and hence taxable in India. Hence taxable in India. Fine, students. Perfect. So, students, I hope that all of you have taken a note of it. Every one of you. First point, students, make it a point. In your direct tax paper, in your indirect tax paper, your first point has to be the provision. Please be very careful right from day one, right from class 1 till the end of the class. You will have the habit of this disciplinary habit of how to present your answer. So it's not only about understanding the provision, it is also about the presentation of the provision. At the end of it, students, you are going to get the marks on the basis of how you present your provision. Presentation, students, is the key. So therefore, in that scenario, first point, always ensure that what you write is only and only the provision itself. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Every one of you. So this is the first and the foremost thing, students. You should always bear it in mind. The second one, students, which is there in this regard, which you can see over here. Therefore, the professional fees earned by the technical, that is the analysis and conclusion. And more importantly, students, in your examination, you will write the answers. See, practical is one thing, that is, you have to solve, you have to make tables and you have to solve it. But the question which is based on case study, you will have to write the answers in points. This would be the hallmark of our all lecture, that I will make you write all what we write in the case study through making the point. Points, points, and points. That's exactly how we are going to do it. This is going to go a long way in terms of not only this subject, but also some other subjects like your audit or for that matter IDT, wherein you will have a natural inclination to write your answers in points. And as I told you, as a first step, the first point has to be the provision, come what may. And the second point has to be analysis. Third point would be conclusion, provided you have a marks allocated for say 6 to 7 marks. But if you have got 2 to 3 marks allocated marks for that question, only 2 to 3 marks, then I don't recommend the students to stretch to 3 points. I say to them, if it is only 2 to 3 marks, only write 2 points. First point, the provision. Second point, analysis and conclusion. But if supposing it is for 6 marks or 5 or 6 marks, 5 marks minimum, then yes, there you in that case 5 marks question, then I always say take 3 points. 1, provision first, second, analysis, third would be the conclusion. And you will know, as you will travel with me in this context, you will know the art of presenting your answer. There are a lot of our past student story, my own particular thing, my boss story, how presenting the answer is the ultimate key to get the highest mark in the paper. And that is what, students, makes the difference between passing and not passing, or difference between merely passing and getting a rank. That's a difference. So students, we will focus in this context about the presentation style and all. So I'm just opening up this discussion. So students, this is my section number 1, which I've just discussed with all of you. Now students, section number 2, as you all know, is all about what? Section number 2, students, is about definition. Definitions. So generally, as far as all the act is concerned, you will have section number 2, which is definitions. Now students, definition are of 2 types primarily. One definition, students, is a definition or a word which starts with the word mean. Any particular term which starts with the word means. It means. And another time, so category 1 definition. I'll say category 1 definition. This is a category 1 definition. And another is a category 2 definition. Now category 2 definition is a definition where the term starts with what? With the word includes. It includes. Can you see that? So one, it says it means, and second it says it includes. So one is saying it means, and second it says it includes, students, in this context. And now with that proposition, students, the definition which starts with the term means, happens to be an exhaustive definition. Exhaustive means whatever is written, that becomes Bible. Nothing more, nothing less. Whatever is written, that becomes the final word. Final word, students. Nothing more, nothing less. That is the relevance of the term means. And therefore, any definition which starts with the word means, that definition needs to be read seriously. You will come to know as we proceed further how I am using this particular definition. We will do it as and when the topic will keep unfolding one by one. But you should know which definition should be given a lot of emphasis. This definition, the category 1 definition. The second definition, it starts with the word include. And any definition which starts with the word include, technically, students, it is not actually defining anything, but it is expanding the scope. It is expanding the scope on those items. Students, it is expanding the scope on those items which starts with the word include. That exactly the term, students. This is your category 2 definition. So anything which includes, anything which includes, this is how it has to be referred. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Means it is not actually defining it, but what it is doing, it is expanding the term. It means that in this definition, this is also to be considered. Now I'll start giving up the examples from my next class itself, and you'll know through those examples that yes, this is the relevance of the definition which starts with the word include. Which starts with which word, students? Include. So what does it imply? It implies that any definition which starts with the word include, it implies that in that definition, those things should also be considered. Those things should also be considered. That is the relevance of this includes category of definition. The includes category of definition. I hope that every one of you are clear with this one. Now, I'm not giving you this from the next class. You'll get to know both category 1 as well as category 2 definition. Both. You'll get to know, students, what is category 1 and category 2 definition from the next class, students. So students, this is what it is. So students, the first section I'm just going to be stopping here. From the next class, we will start with the charging section and all, then the tax rates. And once the charging section tax rates is over, we will hit our first topic. And the first topic would be the non-resident tax. Many students are asking, sir, non-resident taxation, the very first topic, how we will develop the base? Don't worry, students. You will develop the base and you will become an expert in NR taxation and transfer pricing. I'm saying the word, students, expert in NR taxation and transfer pricing. Now, this, as far as the marks is concerned, it is for 30 marks. That this NR taxation and transfer pricing comes so far as your examinations are concerned. But that will happen after we are done with our basics and the tax rate. So these two will wrap it up and then we'll enter into this non-resident taxation, which will be our first topic. So friends, just confirm, because now you are migrated to the new platform, about the audio and the video. I think there should not be an issue, but in the app, just let me know once, primarily either to me directly through the message or to the backend team, which has been known to you. Just let us know so that at least we are sure about primarily that no further changes needs to be done as far as the app is concerned. See you then, students, in the next session with the charging section. Thank you.